Do you notice anything unusual? There's paper growing here. Grass along streets, highways or other public spaces needs to be maintained regularly for safety reasons and to prevent overgrowth. So a large amount of biomass is produced at the local level. However, roadside grass contains quite a bit of trash.
Some places are dirty and others are clean. When we cut the grass, we can see many cans passing by. Also paper cups, trash like wooden debris, scrap metal, car parts. You come across all sorts of things.
As a result, the use of the grass is limited. It is unsuitable for feeding. The cut grass can only be composted or used in biogas plants. This gave the Dutch researchers from Wageningen Research a creative idea. How about valorizing this bio-waste into paper? After all, grass contains between 30 to 40% cellulose, the main component of paper. So they had the mowed roadside grass delivered in bales to their research facility in Lelystad and went to work. But before this new raw material could be used, it had to be cleaned. Nobody wants trash in their paper.
Roadside grass has a lot of debris in it. For example, paper, some cups, or even someone's underwear. And of course you want to get rid of that before you can use the grass for a further process. So within this machine we have a camera which detects the garbage and sends a signal so it's removed. So we do not have to handpick the garbage and we end up with clean grass for the further process.
Cellulose fibers need to be extracted from the newly cleaned grass for paper production. For this purpose, the grass is first treated in a dry digester, where proteins and sugars are removed. Without this step, it would affect the later production process, as protein makes the dewatering difficult and therefore requires more time and energy in the paper factory. In the dry digester, crates of grass are stacked on top of each other. These are sprayed from above with percolate, a liquid containing a mixture of bacteria. The liquid soaks the grass and the bacteria consume the sugars and proteins. The remaining liquid is then pumped back into the system, creating a continuous cycle. In addition to the sugar and protein breakdown, biogas is produced. The energy from this can be used for the following steps in the process. Afterwards, the grass must be washed to remove the bacteria and the extracted substances. This is done by passing it through a turbulent water bath, followed by an alkaline treatment.
So we treat the grass with the alkali to get the lignin out of the grass. Lignin gives the paper in the end a bit of a smell, and it decolorizes really quick, so the paper will become yellowish. Besides, lignin gives strength to the grass itself. It means it's really difficult to tear it apart and get really the loose fibers, which you need for paper making process.
The grass crates are lowered into the machine, which fills with alkali that destroys some remaining sugars and proteins, and more importantly, the lignin. After some time, the alkali is pumped out and the machine is filled with water to neutralize the grass again, so that it can be safely handled for the next steps. Finally, the grass must be shredded to obtain small fibers for the paper-making process, so that these can later be distributed well and joined together. In order to test the fibers, the paper production initially takes place on a lab scale. The wet fibers for paper making, known as pulp, are mixed with water in a cylinder to achieve even distribution. The water is then pumped out and the fibers are sucked onto a sieve at the bottom of the cylinder. In order for the wet fibers to retain their shape for drying, they must be pressed between two carrier materials. This sandwich is then placed in a dryer for 15 minutes. And there it is, paper made of grass. The general production steps for grass paper, sieving, pressing and drying, are the same as in the large-scale production of cellulose paper from wood, but the grass fibers yield much more.
The bale of grass that we use is 400 kilos roughly, and out of the bale we can make 200 kilos of paper, so that's a yield of 50%. And with the regular pulping process, the yield is 35%.
Currently, the Dutch researchers are working on the production of paper from up to 100% grass fiber in the scope of the EU-funded Go Grass project, and are continuously optimizing this fiber extraction and paper-making process to replace wood cellulose.
We can use a lot of wood in the bio-based economy, so if we can use grass instead of wood, we can use the wood for something else and we can use grass to produce paper.